Good morning. This is Paul Corder, and we're going to get started on the webinar today. So thanks for coming, being on time. So we're going to get started on time. We go kind of quick. I have a lot of slides I'm going to cover, and hopefully get ready for your 2026 event. If you have any questions, you can put them in the question tab, and I'll be glad to help with that. Answer any questions after we're done. And if you want a copy of the presentation, we'll be glad to send you the notes afterwards as well. Just send me a note to Paul at Perfect Golf Event, and you can have a copy of the deck. So again, thanks for joining us. And again, if you need a copy, just send me a note. So today we're going to talk about the things that are important to launching your event for 2026. When someone's doing a charity golf event and they say I'm being in charge of the event this year, I always say to them two things. One is congratulations, and the other one is condolences, because I don't think anybody, unless you've run an event, understands what goes into doing an event. So these are all the different elements that you have to be involved. And there is no magic bullet. There's not one thing you can do that'll make your event successful. You have to get your committee together. We'll talk about a number of these things in a minute, but there's so many different elements that have to come into play to make your event successful. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully it gets you started for next year. So one of the reasons you want to start early is there's about 300,000 fundraising golf events held in the U.S. each year. So the sooner you launch your event, the sooner players and sponsors can get their dates set up, get them on the calendar. So the sponsors want to get that into their budget for 2026. Players want to put it on their calendars. They may not sign up yet, but at least they can make a note that's when the event is going to be. So you want to make sure you're in the sponsor budgets because they're all doing their planning for 2026 right now. Here's an example event we're doing for Philadelphia Orchestra. We've had this up and the website up, probably since last August. But you just want to make sure you've got your website up. We'll talk about that in a minute, and make sure everybody knows what your date is. It's important when you're going through this process to clarify your message. And I look at a lot of websites that use Perfect Golf Event, and I want them to be a little clearer on why they're raising money. So you make sure that everybody knows why you're raising the money. So sponsors and players can understand, hey, it's a fundraising golf event. I know we're going to have some fun and play some golf, but I want to know what's this being raised for. And there's some examples. For example, you want to make sure you have a very clear message. Like you could have a vague one. The money will support our scholarship fund. Well, you can clarify it. Proceeds will fund two $5,000 scholarships. Or the funds will go towards a new animal shelter. Well, I'd rather see it say something like 100% of the proceeds will be used for medical, whatever. But just be more detailed in why you're raising the funds. And then people are comfortable giving you money knowing that it's going to go to specific applications, for your nonprofit. You want people to know why you're raising funds, so make sure your about page is set up on the website so people understand where the proceeds are going to go, and you can add some images to that as well. One thing that's important, again, for those of you just joining us, if you've missed anything, we'll send you a copy of the notes if you like. And again, we go pretty quickly because everybody's got a busy schedule, so some things I'll go through fast, but you'll have a copy of the presentation, and we're also recording the presentation as well, so you can listen to it at your leisure. You want to make sure if you're getting ready for 26, make sure you create a brand. And that's important that as you're going through with your event, whether it's a first year event now or you've had an event in the past, make sure that you've got everything set up with similar colors and consistency. So people say, I recognize this. I've been in that event before. Here's an event that we do down in Florida. And we've done, this would be our 11th year with it. But, we've got a nice tagline, tee off for $1 million because there's $1 million shootout. And all of our brochures, our website, all of our mailings, all of our emails use the same colors, the same logos. That kind of consistency makes your event stand out from other events that are out there. You also want to make sure you get started with your resources. You're going to need I'll talk about some of these more detail in a minute, but you want to have a great committee. You want to make sure you got a right golf course. You're going to make sure you identify all the supporters you're going to need. You have a database you have to build. And let's talk about the database for a minute. It's important that you're always creating a database for people to be potential players and sponsors. And this could be past supporters, past players of golf, committee members. And again, you're going to use your committee members to get as many contacts as you can as well. Your staff and their support and any supporters. Your vendors are important. Anybody you write a check to should be in your database of people you're marketing your event to. I'll talk about referral programs in a minute, but you want to get referrals. The golf course, many golf courses, they're not going to give you their database of golfers, but they may do an email blast for you out to their members, or to, if it's a public course, to the people who play the course, say, hey, we have a great event coming up and maybe you want to participate. So there's lots of different ways to grow your database. You can also look at community directories. I live in St. Louis and a town of Clayton, Missouri, and they publish a directory of all the local businesses with their contact information. I basically went out and I hired a high school student to take that directory and put it into my database so I could communicate with people, send emails promoting the event. So you have to be creative in the way you build your database. And then you got to make sure that you're tracking everything. And I'm going to show you some forms here today and some templates. You can get any of these forms and templates. You can download them on Perfect Golf Event under the resource tab. There's a link that says webinar handouts, so you'll be able to get out whatever you need. So I use a simple Excel spreadsheet to track my potential sponsors and teams, and I make sure I know which committee member is following it. So you want to make sure you're tracking all your prospects as you're going through the process. One of the things I do, and the people miss this is just a side tip, but at my events, because when people come to the event, there's a lot of guests. So for example, I just did an event, and we had people bought foursomes. They came to the event and they brought their friends to play. Well, I didn't have their friends in my database. And so what I do is I have a drawing, and I say, okay, hey, want to get in the drawing? Do you want to get pictures to the event? Do you want to win a drawing for some golf balls? And then they fill this out, and that way I can put them into the database. So last year, people who use this got an average of 45 new contacts that were not in their database already, because guests come to the event and you don't know it. They just show up. You might have their name for your team assignments, but you don't have their email address. So this is just another idea of how to collect more people to build into your database, not only so you market your next golf event, but also any other fundraising events that you're doing. Make sure you set your goals. And I use a simple spreadsheet. What I put in is, for example, I plug in all my prior year revenue for what I did in 2025. If you have a new event, you won't have this. And then I plug in all my revenue projections for 2026. I then go down the spreadsheet, I plug in all my prior expenses, and then I put in my new estimates for my expenses, and then I'll get a net total. And if I'm not getting the right net total that I want, then I know that I've got to go up top, look for more revenue, or I've got to look at my expenses and figure out how to do it. But it's really important to have this spreadsheet built. And again, you can download it on Perfect Golf Event. This is a great tool when you're working with your committee. If you have your golf course, you probably have your golf course picked already. But make sure that you check with your golf course and make sure everything is covered in your contract. Here's the list. And again, you can download this. I have a golf course checklist. This is what I use for all my events. And just make sure you ask the golf course all the right questions. So you don't want any surprises at the event. One of the most important ones is rain date. That's very important, because if you don't have a rain date and it rains before your event or the day of your event. I had an event where it started raining and we only played 6 holes. Well, luckily I knew that the golf course said that if we didn't play 9 holes, we got to do a whole event again. We weren't charged for the 6 holes. But if we had played 9 holes or more, then we were counted as a full event. So I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, I don't know what's in my contract. I better go look at it. So you may want to download this checklist as well. And here's another note on the rain policy, because a lot of people get caught, especially if we've had some bad weather in some certain markets this year. Make sure you know what your rain policy is. Once you've got your date, make sure your website is up. Get your website up as soon as you can so that people can register for your event. You can modify your website as you go along. You can always add more sponsorships, opportunities, whatever. But you need to have a website up so people can see where your event is. And I'll talk about early bird registrations in a second. But you want to get your event set up for 2026 so people know when your event is and what kind of packages are available. And again, hopefully you're using Perfect Golf Event. This is one infomercial. Make sure you use Perfect Golf Event so you can set up your website literally in minutes. Having your committee is really important. So this is also the opportunity to add new people to your committee. Maybe some people played in your event in 2025 and they said, hey, we really like this event. We like what you're doing. How can I get involved? Well, I asked them, hey, if you want to get involved, why don't you be on my committee? This is the time to replace people that maybe didn't contribute as much on your committee and people that you want to add some new people. And the one important thing on your committee is make sure you're always just focusing them on getting new teams and sponsors. Don't get distracted. I've been on committee meetings where people are talking about what hors d'oeuvres are going to process at the awards reception. That's a waste of time. You can do that later. Get everybody focused on, hey, who do we have as potential teams and who do we have as potential sponsors? And again, I've got a checklist that you can download on Perfect Golf Event, and it gives you all the tips. I've been doing these events for 16 years that I use for my events and what I use when I'm working with my committees to make sure that I'm maximizing my committee. So again, you can go there. And again, for some of you signing on late, you can get a copy of this presentation, and we're also recording it. One thing I started to do last year that had really a lot of fun and effect, I made up some business cards. And so what I did for my committee, I gave them business cards, just normal sized business cards. Here's the front of the card for Rochelle, and then there's the back of the card. And I said, hey, here's some business cards. Just keep them with you. If you're going to any social events, any areas where you see somebody could be a potential, if you see a business that could be, just hand them a card. So it's not a big brochure. It's nothing that just says, hey, we're having a golf event coming up, and maybe you'd be interested. And here's a card that tells you how to get to the website. I started doing it new last year, and really had great success. So I'm expanding it in 2026. It's just a tip, something you may want to consider. You want to set up your player packages, and why you want to ask people, why should they play in your event? What's going to be fun and interesting? You're asking them for financial support, time away from their family, time away from their business. Make it worthwhile. And so what I always encourage you to do, and I have another whole webinar that's on the resource tab that's recorded on best formats, but you may want to think about some interesting formats that are different from the straight 4-person scramble. We've seen a lot of people that are now moving, and we do a lot of events ourselves where we're doing a lot of par 3 events where we're taking the golf course and we may change all 18 holes to par 3. We may take 9 holes and make them par 3, but right now, 99.5% of events all have the same format, and you probably too. It's probably a 4-person scramble, box lunch, and some awards. It gets boring and it takes a long time. So think about making your event different and look at some different format ideas. Again, people have a lot of choices. There's a lot of charity golf events. So make sure that your event may be different than a straight 4-person scramble. This is one we do for Folds of Honor. They do all par 3 holes. And so here's some options. And again, I know I go quickly, but we have a lot to cover. So these are different options for formats you may want to look at. And if you're interested in any of them, any of my team at Perfect Golf Event can walk you through the different options. But it could be all par 3 holes, could be just 9 par 3 holes. But do something that makes it interesting as opposed to just a straight, boring 4-person scramble. Again, what you want to ask yourself is, why would someone play? So here's an event I just did in September. And you see, before the event, I had a putting contest. I had a drone ball drop. On the course, I had tons of great contests. Afterwards, I had a reception. I had a shootout for $1 million. And so when people had an option to play in a charity golf event in St. Louis on that day of September 26th, did they want to play in something like this that had so many cool things going on? Or did they want to play an event that just had a 4-person scramble and some prizes? So when you get with your committee, ask them, hey, what do you think we should be doing that makes our event stand out? We've added some other new activities. We've added TrackMan to our events. This has been wildly successful. We have a source comes onto the golf course, sets up a TrackMan, and they can do a long drive and guess guess your distance contest right off the TrackMan, and every player gets a video of their swing that they can have is emailed to them directly. It's a great sponsorship package because the sponsor logo goes on the video. So it's just another really interesting idea to add to your event. Again, along that line, you want to make sure you have exciting contests to attract players, whether it's hole-in-one contests, $1 million shots, putting, long drive, close to the pin. Give people a reason to come out to your event. Hey, I could have a chance to win a trip to Hawaii or a trip to the Masters or the 2027 Ryder Cup, whatever it is. Make something that's interesting. So someone, hey, I'm coming out and I'm taking time away from my family, but I have a chance I could win some prizes. And to tell you, people ask me, does it happen? Oh, and I'll tell you about that success story in a second. And what I do for my events, what I try and avoid at my events is what I call the buffet line. And the buffet line is when they check into registration, and then there's a table for raffle tickets, and then there's a table for mulligans, and there's a table for the putting contest. Don't do that. Put everything into a super ticket. So here's one I did for the Philadelphia Orchestra, where we had a $100 super ticket, and it got him entry into the putting contest, got him 2 mulligans, got him entry into the drone drop. And so there was only one transaction as opposed to the buffet line that people hate. They don't want to stand in a bunch of lines. Again, if you're going to do hole-in-one contests, we can insure anything you want. So these are a variety of the number of most popular fundraising contests that we do, but we can do any one you want. In fact, recently, this was a stunner, but we just had a Folds of Honor event at Hazeltine, and they had a hole-in-one contest, and a gentleman made a hole-in-one, and the prize was $150,000. He made a $150,000 hole-in-one shot from 180 yards. Unbelievable, but it adds excitement. And I'll tell you what, people are going to come back to that event next year because they're going to know about that success story. So use your imagination. You can have all sorts of different contests. One of our most popular ones now is the $20,000 hole-in-one, where if someone gets it, $10,000 goes to the winner, $10,000 goes to your charity. And we can do ones that are local to your market. This is really exciting. So like, for example, we did one in Philadelphia. Excuse me. And so in this one, they had a chance, if they got a hole-in-one, they could go to an Eagle or Packers game, Dolphins game, they could go to a Sixers game. So, I did one in St. Louis where it was a trip to London to see the Cubs play the Cards. So if you're wherever you are, Denver, Austin, California, San Francisco, Chicago, we could do hole-in-one contests that tie to your local teams. I just did one in Ohio, and the winner got season tickets to the Ohio State football team. So again, that'll make your event different than every other event that's out there. And if you want, request our idea generator. It gives you lots of different ideas on things that will help your event be exciting. Okay, last couple ones on players, then we'll get to sponsorships. I do VIP foursomes at my event. So I only allow 4 of them in my event, but I have them, I charge, let's say I'm charging $500 to play in the event per player. So that'd be a $2,000 foursome. I charge $4,000 for it. But they get VIP parking. I have a person assigned to their groups with a beverage cart just for them. They can make drinks for them, get cigars for them. People love this because businesses are bringing their best clients out and they want VIP treatment. It's just an easy way to make some additional money. And then last one on this, make sure you have a women's division. This is really important. I learned this lesson about 6 years ago at an event when the women approached me and said, hey, we have a lot of women playing here. We should have our own division. And that helped me. And now that event has really grown. They had, I think, 12 women's teams last year. So it's not have a men's division and a women's division, and you might have a mixed division, but give everybody a chance to win some prizes. Going back to prior players, make sure you've got your save the date out there. Let people know when your event is, and make sure your website's set up. And then communicate it. For example, we're doing for 3 of my events, we're actually doing a holiday mailing out, and we're mailing this gift. It's a candy cane with some golf balls in it. It just reminds people, hey, thanks for your support. And here's Wendy a date for the upcoming event. So be creative in what you do. You can do things like a preview event, like we just had this, or actually this coming up November 1st. at Philadelphia Orchestra. We're doing a preview event. The event for this event, our event isn't until April, but we're inviting people to come out to the golf course where they have a learning center there with simulators, and we're doing just a hosting 4 to 7 p.m. Come on out. We have hors d'oeuvres, and we're having sponsors, potential sponsors invited out, potential players coming out. It's just a way to kind of jumpstart your event. So I love doing preview events. It's been very successful, especially if you're having a new event and you want to get some momentum going. I'm also I do sponsorships, thanking people for prior. So for example, if someone had been a sponsor in my prior event, then we raise the money. We invite prior sponsors to come out. We have a lunch, 9-hole tournament, and a networking reception. And then we're going to present our 2026 sponsor and player packages. So what do you do in this event? It's a big event. We raise $195,000. But it's, hey, thanks for supporting us in the past. Come out in June. We're going to talk about the event that's coming up in September. And thanks for your support. And we invite them to bring in other potential sponsors. If you had an event with us this year, make sure you've got your photos set up. We have a special app called Perfect Photo Gallery that allows you to upload photos quickly, and then people can download them. You can do them for free or charge a small donation. It can be sponsored. So, for example, this one was sponsored by this Mike Center. So if you haven't used our Perfect Photo Gallery, it's a great way to put out your photos from 2025. And one of the tips that I do is I put all my photos from 2025 on my 2026 website. So I make them look at the 26 website to see the 2025 photos. That way they know when the new event is coming up. See, so for example, that's what you want to do. All right. Now let's talk about sponsorships. Again, I know I'm going quickly, but we have a lot to cover. And I have a whole nother webinar coming up on November 4th where I just talk exclusively about how to sell sponsorship. But make sure you'll offer a lot of sponsorship opportunities. It's something I look at all the websites using Perfect Golf Event, and I want to make sure that you have enough sponsors. Most people don't offer enough sponsorship. You're not going to sell all of them, but you got to give sponsors the opportunity to find something that fits their budget. And make sure you've got some sizzle. What are they going to get in their sponsorship? What I don't want to see is, oh, I've got a title sponsorship, and for your title sponsorship, you're going to get your name on a welcome banner, and that's it. So you want to make sure you've got a bunch of stuff that they're going to get as part of their sponsorship. So again, you can download all of we have a sample sponsorship packages that'll show you a bunch of different sample sponsorships that you can then modify to fit your budget. But again, for a title sponsor, I might plug in a bunch of stuff. And again, a lot of this stuff doesn't cost me anything. I can let them tee off at hole number 1. I can give them the front cover of the program. I can put them the press release. I can give them VIP parking and seating at lunch and reward reception. But these don't cost anything. But now the sponsor says, you know what? For that sponsorship, I'm bringing clients out. We're going to get VIP treatment. That makes the sponsorship worthwhile. So again, you can go through and you can download at Perfect Golf Event under the Resources tab. You can download all the different sponsorships. I have my recorded webinar that we did last year on it. I have a new one coming up on November 4th. And remember, if you use a Perfect Golf Event, sponsors can put sponsor logos up on the website. I have a sample sponsor solicitation letter that you can use to go out to solicit sponsors. A couple other sponsorship tips. For some of my events, I've created a YouTube channel, and I allow sponsors to post some videos. I pre-approve them about their business. So let's say they're a restaurant and they've got a little clip about their restaurant. Well, I put that on my YouTube channel for the event. And on the YouTube channel, I've got a tour of the golf course. I talk about the contest we're going to have that day. And I might have a link to 3 or 4 of my sponsors. Again, if you add that into your decent sponsorship packages, now that person says, I want to be a sponsor because I'm going to get to go on a YouTube channel. I've set up with some of my events a little display area. So I let some of the sponsors come out to the event and set up sampling tables and things like that. Again, it doesn't cost you anything, and it lets you add more benefits to the sponsorships. And in fact, some of my events, the sponsors have offered take-home packages. I had a barbecue place and a dessert place that had, hey, go play golf. When you come in, I'll have a bunch of stuff ready for you to take home to your family. These are creative things that help you have a more successful event. A couple more fundraising ideas. If you don't have a program, consider a program, because you can give sponsors space in the program as part of a sponsorship package, but you can also sell additional sponsorship spots in the program. So it's a nice fundraising idea. In my programs, I put in event rules and some other things. So have a program. Some events put together a card for sponsors. So when the players come, they get this card that they can take, and it gives them discounts off local businesses. And it's another sponsor benefit. What we're looking to do all the time is find ways to give sponsors more benefits to be sponsoring your golf event that's different than every other, because they're being hit up by, remember, a lot of people are calling on these companies for sponsorships, and you want to make sure that you're different than everybody else out there. Make sure, again, you track all of them on the prospect list. This is the thing I showed you earlier that you could download. All right, if you want to be in the top 1% of all events, do a little sales training with your staff, your committee, your volunteers, just how to sell sponsorships. You know, why does why event sponsor event? Because they want to generate new business, not only from they want to get new business from the players. I always emphasize they get new business from other people at the event, volunteers, committee members, staff, other sponsors. They want to solidify their relationship with clients, and maybe someone just asked them because you're on their committee. But what I tell you to do is invite somebody from your team who knows something about sales. Focus on the key points selling, and have us. I bring in lunch, and I bring all my committee members, my staff, my supporters in, and I say, hey, we're going to go out and ask people to sponsor our event. What do you want to do? How do you do it? Well, make sure when they talk to people that they have, hey, I looked at your business. I think that you would be a great putting contest sponsor for our event, and here's why. Or if not, you might want to sponsor our long drive contest. But the key of selling is to ask open-ended questions. So you don't say to someone, would you like to be a sponsor for my golf event? You say to them, hey, I see that you've got a great business. How do you decide where you're going to spend your marketing dollars? Then be quiet. Let the person answer. And they'll say, well, we decided in 2026 that we're going to try and get an increase of 15% in number of new customers coming into our business. Whew, they just hand you the tickets, the key to the kingdom. You say, that is really great, because that's what we're focusing on with our golf event. We want to introduce people to your business at our golf event so you can reach your goal of 15%. So listen, and then use what they tell you to help them move forward. Listen, and then if you have follow-up sessions, I mean, if the person says, that's great, do you have anybody else who's a sponsor I could talk to? Sure. Most salespeople fail. The failure for salespeople, number one, is they don't follow up. Okay, sorry. So that's important. Somebody wants to be followed up with, follow up. Hey, I called on you last week. Wondered have you thought any more about the golf event? So that's important, that you ask open-end questions, find out what their interests are, approach them with a solution to that interest, and then follow up to keep following up until they make a decision. And you also want to develop some talking points, that your committee, make it your committee member and your supporter, anybody who's out selling sponsorship, make them comfortable talking about the event. Hey, here's what's cool about the event. We have these many players coming. This is where they live. The average income's $100,000. They live within 5 miles of your business. You're going to make some of it up or guess some of it, but at least give them some talking points so they're not fumbling when they're out there. Last section is going to be marketing. So when you're marketing your event, we don't have a lot of money to spend. So on a tight budget, first of all, you want a marketing calendar. You can download this on Perfect Golf Event. Excuse me. And so I have a marketing calendar for all my events. I review it with my committee members, and I look at all the different activities we should be having. When are we having them? Are we missing any months where we're not doing something? So a marketing calendar is almost as important as the budgeting template that we showed earlier. I track on the calendar, there's this tab for it where you can plug in all your activities so far. And then I share this committee member every Monday. I send out to my committee members, hey, here's where we stand versus our goals. If you want, I've got a form under the resource tab. It sort of outlines my marketing plans for my events. Hopefully it'll get you started in the right area. But some key areas are use save the date postcards. I like to do this. I do a lot of save the date cards going out to my database. Postcards are very effective. Here's one I just did again for the Philadelphia Orchestra that it emphasized when the event was coming up and talked about where they could look at the website, they could register. You need to be in front of people, and sometimes it's not just emails, it's going to be some mailings. You want to have some decent marketing materials. Here's a brochure we do for one of our events. It's a nice 4-pager. That's great. And again, on any marketing materials you have, make sure you've got a QR code. If you're with Perfect Golf Event, we'll create a QR code for you that you can take right to your event website. So make sure you've got a QR code on all your marketing materials. Social media, again, if you're using Perfect Golf Event, if you're using Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, I guess Twitter is called X now, they require different sizes for social media images, and we prepare those for our clients on Perfect Golf Event so that you can put these out, and then you take these social media images and you give them to your committee members and have them post them on their social media sites. That way you geometrically are expanding your contacts. I tell the people, I tell my members, I write some sample emails for them so they know what to say. So I said, here's a number of emails we want to send out. In the first one, let's just talk about the event and why we're raising money. The second one, we'll talk about contests. We'll talk about why events are good for networking. But give them a little direction on what you want them to say when they send emails out to their contacts. And if I'd say most events miss this, but LinkedIn to me is the most powerful place to promote your golf event because it's a business to business site. So what I ask people to do is if you're going to play in my event, go into your website and on your LinkedIn, tell people, hey, I'm playing in the Backstoppers Golf Event September 2026. Why don't you join me? So, but you have to encourage people to go out there and to promote your event. So go ahead, tell them. Go on their LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you know, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I must have 500 or so contacts. I probably know 20 of them, but I got a lot. And so does everybody else. But LinkedIn's a great way to go business to business way to promote your event. So don't remember in the beginning I talked about there's no one magic formula. There isn't. So you have to touch all the bases on these areas. Create a media kit. You want to have a media kit with a press release that you can send out to local organizations. Now, we'll tell you one thing. I don't get a lot of response from the media unless I have a real good story to tell about somebody benefiting from the event. But I use this to help close sponsorships because I've had sponsors say to me, wow, you have a media kit? What kind of event is this? I say, it's a serious event. We take this event seriously. And if you sign up, you're going to be in our press release. So these are new things that you can add to your event if you're not doing them to get more momentum. You can trade sponsorships for advertising. You know, used to you couldn't do billboards because they had to paste up those big billboards, but now there's digital billboards. So I trade sponsorships to billboard companies. I say, hey, I'll give you a sponsorship in my event, and just give me some exposure on some of your digital billboards around town. And what does it cost me? A sign. I can just say, you're the official digital billboard sponsor of my golf event. All I have to do is make a sign up. So these are creative ways to expand your event. Last one. Since we're talking about it, let's go out and do an early bird special. Go out and ask people, hey, sign up now, and I'll give you some incentive. I don't really like the discount, but I might have an incentive that says sign up now and I'll give you raffle tickets or entry into the putting contest. But go on out because maybe you can get some commitments now or get people to sign up now before they sign up for somebody else's event. Here I did an event where I had early access. So I went out to people and said, hey, if you sign up now, I gave them a lot of benefits. It could be an early access, including they got a money clip with a logo on it. So these are things you can think about getting people to sign up early in your event, and that way they don't sign up for another event. This is I'm going to give you two little wild ones. Now, this is really funny, but I've done this for 3 years. I go out on this Backstoppers event and we tell people, forget giving them fruitcakes for their holiday gift. Buy a foursome in my event. And then you can give that as a gift. So you go to your clients and say, hey, thanks for your business this year. You know what? I've signed this up for an event at Backstoppers. It's a great event. And I'm inviting you as my guest. So thanks for your business this year. Come and join me in this golf event in 2026. What a great idea, as opposed to giving somebody a fruit basket or something like that. I've had great success for this. I've tried to encourage people to use it. A couple people have, but it's just an idea to say to people, why not buy a foursome in my event and give it to your clients as a business gift? Come out and play with me in this fabulous event that's coming up next year. Last one, referral programs. Make sure if somebody's registered in your event, you ask them for referral. You don't have to really give them anything, but I have a committee member. You can offer something, but I just have a committee member call them and say, thanks for signing up. Do you have anybody else you think that might be interested? And you'll be surprised how many people, first of all, appreciate the phone call, but they appreciate being thanked, and then they'll give you an email address of some people that might be interested. Outline your email campaign to get that going, and you can use Perfect Golf Event. We've got email tools you can use. And then to do an online auction. You may want to do an online auction, and you can use Perfect Silent Auction. It's easy to set up an auction. That keeps people engaged with you. All right, again, I know I went quickly, so here's some action steps as we wrap up. Okay, confirm your location and your date. Identify your committee member. Complete your financial projections. Finalize your format. Set up your website, and implement your marketing plan. And if you have any questions or ways we can help, just contact the team at Perfect Golf Event. We're always glad to help you have a more successful event. So again, I appreciate your patience for how fast we went. Hope you found this useful. If you want to copy the presentation, just send me a note to Paul at perfectgolfevent.com. Thanks again for listening.